first time that they're closing on their home, you can't really replace that excitement.
No.
That once it all comes together. So that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a really key what you said too with communication with the client. If you are quiet, it's not that you're not working everything and everything's still not going as planned. And that's where us agents, I feel, really need to step in a little bit more and start really communicating with them and keeping in touch with them, saying, hey, I've already spoke with Leonard. Everything's good. He's still just rolling with stuff.
Right.
That way you guys can keep rolling and getting stuff going to where we can get to close and there's nothing missing or there's nothing that comes up last minute. We know how that happens sometimes too. Um,
Mhm.
but
Don't we?
yes, and all the interruptions, I'm sure, are a big part of that. So, that's when us agents can say, hey, if the lender has any problems or has any issues, that's when he's going to call you. If not, don't worry. Just kind of sit back. If you have any questions, you can come to me first. If it's a lender question, I'm definitely going to probably direct you to him or
Yeah.
her at that point, because again, I like to stay in my lane as much as possible. I may know the answer, and a lot of times, if I do think I know the answer, I'll be like, well, I'm not 100% sure. This is what I believe it is, but you probably really should talk to the lender and ask the lender that question because that is really a lender question. Just to give them some peace of mind. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times they come at me, and I'm sure you get this too sometimes, where they contact you like in a frantic or panic mode and they don't know what's going on or something that they received and now they're questioning it and they couldn't get a hold of me or they couldn't get a hold of him and now they're calling title. They're like
Yeah.
going through the chain,
Yep. Mhm.
trying to figure out what is going on. You got to calm them down. You got to give them that peace of mind. It may not be in your
Yes.
lane, but you might give them, hey, your agent will get back to you or something. I'm sure you've
Right.
had to do that,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's, like I think we said this last time, but over 100 hands touch a file from the
Absolutely.
time, they go under contract to the time they close, give or take. And I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, just like you said. So, I got told a long time ago by one of my favorite mentors in this business. She said, if your phone's not ringing, there's a problem. Or there could be a problem or there could not be a problem. It's one of two things. One is you don't have enough business, or two, you have enough business, but you're doing your job. If the phones are ringing constantly and asking for things and asking questions, you're not doing your job to stay on top of it. And so when we're really busy, sometimes it is quiet. And I will tell you, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I feel like I have the best assistant in the whole company. I love her. There's not an email in her inbox that's not been read and addressed. I mean, like, she makes me jealous because I have so many, and you would don't look at my phone and see all my emails.
No,
But
me
I mean,
neither.
it's just, she's just really on top of it. So what it's saying about staying on top of things and being communicative with the people, communicating everything that you need to communicate, that really helps and sets you apart, and
Yeah.
so that way, sometimes if it is quiet, doesn't no news is not, necessarily
No.
mean it's bad news. It just means that things are going and moving along. And so we always appreciate when the realtors are that buffer, because that helps us
Yes.
a lot too, because people they're nervous, and it's their biggest investment they've ever made. And so having that constant communication from the realtor, just going, hey, trust experts. I talk to them all the time. I know they're doing their job. If there was a problem, we'd be the first to know about it. So that really
Yes.
helps when we work with agents like that and lenders as well. So it's when your title people and your lenders just flat out don't respond to you. That's
Mhm.
when you might be concerned, because that's usually
Yes.
typically if I got a problem and I'm trying to get something from a lender, and it's vice versa. I'm not saying it's all lenders. Title does it too. But it's like, oh well, we're not going to respond right now. We're trying to figure it out on the back end. But it's just an easy response. Go, hey, no worries. We're working on it. There is a situation, but we are resolving it. We're getting it
Yes.
figured out as we speak. We will keep you updated. And that's kind of the key of just letting them know, hey, if there is a problem, it's okay. We got it.
Um, Before I go on, what's your assistant's name? Let's make her famous.
Rachel Fleming.
Rachel.
Oh,
Way to go,
okay.
Rachel. Good job. Good
Yes.
job.
Thank you, Rachel.
No, we have the best assistants.
Can
and,
we
and
share her? No.
Yeah, no,
Dang
no,
it.
she's too busy. We have the best. We have the best teams. I mean, we really do, all of us. And I just know, like, I don't have to worry about things. Like, I know she's on top of it,
Cool.
and she's just very proactive. And so that's what you want for your title
Yes.
people.
It
So
is.
I'll be
Absolutely.
honest with you. I always tell everybody, I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, I'm very busy and I'm going in different directions, and I have to rely on her. So for someone that's like me, ADD, I
Yes.
have to have someone that's very disciplined and very organized. If I had someone that was just like me, I probably wouldn't have a contract one to close
Right.
because it gets
Y'all both be
crazy.
making mimosas.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
see?
we'd be
For
always
real.
having a good time.
Yes,
yeah,
we
it
would.
just-
That's for sure.
Yeah, but putting the right people on your team, making
Sure.
sure personalities are a big deal. You know,
agree.
Complimentary pieces.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely. So
That's
anyhow,
what I want. I want an assistant so bad
Well-
sometimes just to keep me on task.
yes, it's helpful.
Sometimes
very
I get so
helpful.
distracted sometimes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very easy to get distracted.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
So-
in this
Well,
business especially because it's like
Yes.
you go from one thing to another thing, one
Right.
fire to another fire, and
Yes.
one call to another. And so sometimes you're like at 4 o'clock, you're like, well, what happened to that to-do list? You made last night. You stayed up till midnight making this to-do list and you didn't even look at it once.
I'm marked. Let's see, there were 12 of them, and I've marked through 2 of them. What have I been doing? It's where'd it go?
Yeah. Yeah. Where did the day go?
And the time flies too.
Yes.
It's like mercy. I just took like a 10-20 minute break. It ended up being a little longer, but
Yeah. I know it. I'm
You
very well know it too well.
about the communication,
Yes.
because I know our team, and as soon as the realtor sends us the contract, the executed contract, really day one, I'm working on disclosures, looking to lock in rate, all that. But at that point, my team is already wanting to order title. Now, a lot of times we want to order appraisal because there's an option period.
Right.
They want to do inspections. They want to make sure, the buyer wants to make sure. But in that piece, that communication, and this is where on the real estate agent side, what is really helpful is a lot of agents will send the executed contract. They'll include the title company. They'll include the lender.
Yes.
Everybody gets it. So it's like everybody that's involved knows, okay, there's a lender. Okay, there's a title. That's who we need to order through. It's
Yes.
very helpful.
I agree.
Just because it helps the team. And then the team emails. So yeah, like I might be the loan officer, but you need to, my assistants need to see everything I see. Same for you. Like our deal is, Jason Chandler, but Team Burleson, at affinitymortgage.com.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
the whole team gets emails. And
Yes.
if you get the early communication, then no matter if someone's out sick or what,
Mhm.
you shouldn't miss a beat.
Yes.
No.
We have the same. We have a
Yes.
team email as well.
Mhm.
And that really helps us.
Really helpful.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
I really don't have team emails, but I do include both of you typically when I have a transaction going and
Yes.
and you guys are both involved. Like I would be sending everything over to you together. That way, you're both in the email and you can see that I've done that.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it.
It
You know,
is.
it's just about that way everybody's on one. And I tell you, my biggest pet peeve, not talk about negative things.
It's okay. We
Is
can
I
bring it
love
to a
keep-
positive.
Yeah, well, this is the positive is
Yeah.
my pet peeve is like when people start responding to multiple email threads.
Yeah.
Can we just keep it on one?
Yes.
It's the most best thing ever because it just stays on track,
Yes.
So I have people all the time, and it's not really age, it's mostly like buyers and sellers that have a lot of questions, and they'll send one email, and then before I can even answer that one, they've thought of something else and they send another email. And so it's like, anyway, so it's good though to have that communication. You're all in one email and you can keep that one thread going.
Yes.
It's super helpful.
And I think for the agents too, this could be something that could maybe benefit you as well as the client too. If the agent it could do a little more due diligence, and I know we get busy too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, especially we've got multiple clients that we're working at the same time, it can get overwhelming sometimes. However, if we could at least tell our client, our buyer, hey, think of all the questions that you're going to have for title. Once we go, like we're about to go into this transaction, think of all the questions that you might have for the title company before we go into this, whether buyer or seller. And that way they can think of all the questions and put it in one email. That way everything's being answered at the same time.
Right.
And hey, if you do think of something a little later, that's cool. That's fine. If you need to reach out to him again after that, that's fine. But try to think as many questions as you have for title. Because again, I try to tell my clients, I'm staying in my lane.
Yeah.
Okay. I really am. A lot of things I do know about, title insurance and all the things that, represent or are on the contract. Yes, I can go over with my client. However, there are still some times where it is a title question and I like to stay in my lane because if I say it wrong, that don't look good on me. For one. And for two, I really don't know. I'm not doing title work. So
Right.
I don't do the title position. So therefore I really should be in my lane. And I think that's how it is with the lending side too, as me not being a lender. I'm not the lender.
Right.
No.
I may know quite a bit about it because I've been doing this long enough to have educated myself, as well ask the right questions myself, because I want to know these things, not so that I can necessarily tell my client, because again, I like staying in my lane.
Yeah.
But I think that that would be something that could be beneficial and helpful even with the lender too, with the seller or the buyer. Hey, if you need to get with the lender, these make sure you know your questions ahead of time, and then get it all together in one email,
Absolutely.
so that that helps, because we got to, and I look at it this way: time management. Our time management is already hard enough to keep up with and maintain. It really is. Like, again, we go through these distractions throughout the day so often that it could throw us off and put us in something else really quick. And then we just stopped and we forgot about that other thing.
Yes.
So for us to be able to have a little more due diligence in that communication with all of us, and making sure we're all being due diligent and helping each other out too, I think that that would be ideal.
Yes, absolutely. Time blocking.
Yeah.
Time blocking is crucial. I remember being an
Yes.
agent and how much better you felt in that time blocking, because you really did, turn off all distractions. And in that time blocking area, whether it was 2 hours of lead generation, 2 hours of only checking emails. Now, of course, there's going to be disruptions, and you may have to go to an inspection, or you may have to go to a closing, things like that happen, obviously. But in general, time blocking as a rule of thumb of like productivity, like to master productivity, for anybody, regardless of what you do for your career, time blocking is really where it's at if you can be disciplined enough to do it.
That's right.
It sounds so
I'm not.
easy.
Yeah.
And
Working on it.
Atomic Habits. Have you guys read
No.
that book? Sorry,
No.
Jason.
no, it's everywhere you go.
Yes.
It's going to be like whatever industry, the people that are best at what they do, they're always going to come back to time blocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it sounds so easy. And every time you hear it, you're like, yep. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up my calendar, and it is. It is. I mean, your computers now with the calendar on there, you can sit there and you set all these dates and what's going on, but still stuff happens.
Yes.
Yes.
But if you could try to stick to it, I mean, it will lead to success.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What book are you talking about?
Atomic Habits. Like, so this book, it is incredible. It actually like kind of maps it out for you to be able to help with all of those. Like, I call them, well, he calls them too, ineffective habits. So we've made these ineffective habits, and they may not necessarily be bad necessarily, but they're the distraction. I would call it more like a distraction for me. That's my ineffective habit. So what I try to do is, and he even says like put sticky notes. So like if I'm working from home, I'll put a sticky note on my TV, do not turn, or on the remote, do not turn me on until you've gotten at least 3 hours of this done. And then now I can't even
love
touch that remote. And even for house cleaning or anything, I mean, this can pertain to anything in life. But Atomic Habits, he's on Audible. I listen to him on Audible. Audible is my best friend.
I love Audible.
I know, because it's like our schedules are so busy. Sitting and reading a book. I mean, by the time my husband gets home and I'm cooking dinner and we're sitting at dinner and watching our favorite show, The House, right now. I love that we're watching the whole thing. It's so great.
Binging?
Yeah, we're not binging, but we're watching the episodes from the beginning to the end, because before you had to wait until it came on and you may have missed it that day, or you had to you had that recording thing on your DVR.
DVR, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So now we get to just go from episode to episode. So it's kind of nice. I'm like understanding the show a little better now. And where things are.
Now that you got to start over.
Right now that I got to start over, because that show was like back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but yeah, so like, but I get to listen to Audible. I like to listen to Audible if I'm like doing like like I'm checking my email. I multitask sometimes, which is not always probably the best idea, but yeah.
Depends what you're doing, what your tasks are, right?
Yes, exactly. But I know for like title companies, and we're about to go to break here in just a little bit, but when we get back, I really want to talk more about, what you're kind of, maybe dig deep and let the consumer know a lot of the things that and how long sometimes some of these things take.
Yeah.
I think that would be huge. And I think that would be very informational for the consumer. Don't you think so too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I said on day one, when you get a contract, it's like, let's get title ordered.
Yes.
Because, hopefully if it was done right with the listing agent, probably already been working on some, but it's like, get it to them.
Yes.
You know, because what if they run into problems? There's all these people we talked about.
Yes.
You know, all these. What about the liens, the judgments? You know, you don't know what's going to be on there.
Right.
So they need time to work, and I know that could be an issue. Have you ever had a lender not order title till like a week before closing?
Oh yeah.
How about 2 days before closing? Right? Yeah, you
Oh.
want to kill them, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, how can you do this? But no, it's like get it to them, and you have plenty of time, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
Is to
absolutely.
have time to do your job.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. It's just about ordering the right things and at the right time.
Mhm.
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to be right back and we're going to talk some more titles. So stay tuned. Remember to call in and comment. Love to hear from you guys. Talk to you soon.
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Serving Johnson County, Texas, JOCO Community Radio.
All right. Hello. How's everybody? We are back. JOCO Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The JOCO Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-839-4245. All right, guys. I have one more quick little announcement. I know a lot of us in the real estate realm, we like to do, donations and fundraisers, or help with fundraisers and things of that nature. So I've got some buddies. They're in the Johnson County Rebel Riders, and they have a fundraiser for Johnson County RRMC at local food banks. It's $10 a ticket, and on the drawing will be held on June 26th. So that, and they won't or need not to present to win. Okay. Yes, you don't need to be there for you to be able to win, but you can purchase a ticket. So let me know, send me a message if you want to contribute or if you want to help out with this. It would be pretty awesome. The first place is 500 and the second place is 200 and third place is 100. So, I mean, $10, I mean, you might have a chance to win that money. I'm just
And-
saying.
And that's for food banks? That
It's
goes-
for the food banks.
Oh,
Yes.
cool.
It's for the
Awesome.
local food banks.
Nice.
So, and that's the thing, like bikers, sometimes they have a bad rep, but a lot of them, they're just looking out for the
Yeah.
community and wanting to be a part of the community.
Burleson bikers, man. I love those guys.
Yes, I know. Yes, my husband kind of may hang out with them. So, with that being said, let's bring it back to the title, and again, let's kind of talk about from the beginning to the end. Maybe, I mean, I know but we won't have time for probably all of that, but. What are some of the things that are so important and crucial and what takes the most time, I guess, from title, so we can just explain to the consumers how
Yeah.
it works.
Just like what you were saying, just the title request, once we execute a contract and we're all excited about the contract, then comes all the work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes we're on cruise control for a little bit, but sometimes we ask a lot of the sellers, there's things that we need. But getting that title request from the lender is super imperative. If we don't have that, then we can't send the title work to the appropriate parties. So it's really important to get that up front. So getting the title work ordered. And again, I don't know how much we talked about title work last week, but briefly, that title work is what's going back to tell us exactly who owns the property, if there are any debts owed against the property, and how we need to clear those debts, and what we're going to pay off. So that's really the first step, is the title work. And while we wait on title work, which usually takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days for like a lot and block. If you have meets and bounds, that's acreage. Title work can take up anywhere from 7 to 10 days, just depending on how much is involved in that title work. So those are things that, we have to do first and foremost. So title work is like the first thing we deal with, and pretty much the last thing we deal with in a transaction for the title side. So getting that title commitment out to all parties. In the meantime, we're trying to look at the surveys. Survey is so important for the consumer to realize that when you go close on your property and you get an existing survey or even a brand new survey ordered, it's really, really important not to lose that piece of paper. I tell everybody those surveys are worth like $500-$600 for just a normal lot and block. You get into meets and
Yeah.
bounds,
Oh.
I 40 acres, I was just quoted, 40 acres is about $9,000,
Oh, yeah.
depending on if the lot is heavily wooded, access and things like that. So there's all kinds of things that go into play as far as, how much a survey can cost you. But it's really important. I always tell everybody, I always make them extra copies at closing. Like, here you go. I'll put them in the front of their package, even existing or new ones. But survey is really important. So we have to get that survey, and we have to get that survey approved. And I know we briefly talked about this last week as well, but making sure all the easements on the title work match the survey. So what's one big thing. Homeowners associations.
Oh,
yay.
Those are the.
Boo.
Well, we love them, but we it's one of those like love-hate relationships, if you
yes.
ask me, because man, it can be a challenge.
Yes.
It can be a challenge to get any information from them.
Yes.
And then a lot of times the seller has to pay for it,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And I mean, like pecan plantation. Sorry, no disrespect,
very
but Lord
expensive there.
have mercy.
Yeah. It used to be when I my very first house I ever sold was in pecan plantation.
Mine too.
Really?
Yes, it was my
That's
first
so
one.
crazy. Yeah, that was the first house I ever sold.
Yes.
And it was a $4,000 transfer fee.
Yes.
And that was 10 years ago.
Wait, no, I think ours
So-
was. I think it was like 5,000.
Yeah, so it may have gone up. Said that
Yeah.
mine was 10 years ago, so I don't know what it's like now. But I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, anyways. And so, I was just learning. And I mean, I had great mentors with me, of course. So they were teaching me along the way. But I look at it now from a title perspective, and I was like, I really didn't know. Like, I didn't know what that really meant. I know, I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it meant. And, to get a resale certificate or a transfer fee, so yeah.
Well, educate us.
Yeah. So, in a HOAs have great things about them. Keep people from parking in their yards, or grass overgrowing, or, people painting crazy colors of their houses. I mean, there's all those restrictions and guidelines that most people go, oh my gosh, well, we wouldn't do that anyway. But there are people that will.
Yeah.
So it's really important. So there's the good side of having an HOA to keep your
Sure.
neighborhood looking nice and keep the value up and things like that. Those are the things we love about the HOA. Things we don't like about the HOA is how much money it will cost us. And usually, HOA dues I've not seen anything that's substantially like out of this world for price wise, other than maybe some of the, like pecan plantation.
Yes.
That's an
because
exception.
they have their own airport now.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that
And
all that
doctor's
area
office.
out there is just built up so much. But yeah, so once you're selling a house in the HOA, well, they will not tell us if you're current on your dues, what your dues are. They won't give us any information about your current file until you pay for it. And when I say that, it's called a resale certificate. And so I always try to educate my listing agents, like everybody, like make sure you prepare the seller that they're going to have to pay a fee up front. And so what we have to do is we have to go and order the HOA resale cert, send them a link, and then they pay for it up front. Everything else can really be subtracted out of closing, but really the HOA resale cert is really the only thing that has to be paid up front. And that's really what we have to do.
Yeah.
So everything else, like survey costs and things like that, we can always take that out of your net proceeds at closing. So, but the HOA resale cert always has to be paid up front. And I have seen resale certs as low as $50, and I've seen them as high as $850 just for a little piece of paper,
Yeah.
And then in that resale certificate, it's going to tell us how much your dues are, if you're current on your dues. If you're not, how much past dues that we need to collect at closing. Also, they like to charge working capital fees. They'll charge transfer fees. I have seen a plethora of fees that HOAs like to charge. So it's really important for you to be prepared that even after you paid that resale cert, you're probably still going to have some money owed at closing for other fees that are included in your resale cert. So you have to
I did
pay
not
to
know
play.
that.
Yeah.
That part I did not know.
And in the HOA addendum, it
Yeah.
talks about, how much up to a certain amount that the seller will contribute to transfer fees. So like sometimes the transfer fees can be up in the $400 or $500.
Right.
Pecan
True.
plantation in the thousands, right?
Yes.
And so that's, what will happen is, they'll say, okay, well, I'll pay up to $150. So the difference of whatever that transfer fee is, the buyer's responsible for.
Yeah.
So that's really our guide, our guide to telling us what we need to collect and how much they are due for. So yeah, you're going to pay a little bit of money up front for a piece of paper.
And I think that's why sometimes it's you guys, I feel, have the hardest job, really, because you have to find all these things that come up that are discrepancies or they're going to cost more money.
Yeah.
And then so you got it because people they're like, well, I was told this and I wasn't told that. And a lot of times that can hurt the transaction and it causes a discrepancy between, whomever had not. So it's really important, like she said, of course, to make sure that, the listing, as you as a listing agent need to make sure that the HOA situation. I'll sometimes read the bylaws too.
Yes.
Especially if I'm a buyer's agent and a buyer wants to buy an HOA, I'll sometimes read some of those bylaws and say, did you read the bylaws? Are you cool with that?
Yeah. And that's really important because we can always get restrictions and bylaws up front if we have the information.
Yeah.
We can't the resale cert. That's not public knowledge, but restrictions and things like that are filed in the real property records. So even before title work comes back, I can always have my examiners pull any restrictions regarding that property to give us the right information that we need.
Right.
So that's really helpful when you can get in front of it that way. So getting that information, so looking up the restrictions, making sure it's all good. But the HOA is kind of a big deal because, like I said, sometimes it's an upfront cost that people aren't expecting. So just preparing them, setting the right expectations.
Well,
Yes.
the cost, but boy, I think about what you said, the bylaws.
Yeah.
What if it's no more than 2 cars? I mean, some of them are really restrictive. I don't think they're very restrictive around, Burleson, parts of Fort Worth, I'm sure are very restrictive, but for the most part, pretty laid back. But the buyers need to know,
Yes.
that, hey, this is it. I mean, are you okay with this?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
they buy a home and all of a sudden they're like, no one told me. Well, they were in the bylaws, but still it's, stress. I guess we should all be stressing to them, even me as a lender. Hey, did you read your bylaws?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want any shockers, right? You get there and all of a sudden they're like, you can't plant that tree there.
Right. And now you're so deep in the contract and they're like, oh, well.
Yeah.
You can't back out now.
Yeah, I mean, you really need to see that in your option period.
Yeah.
It's really important for you to see that during your option period. And during that period too, and looking at those, I've seen restrictions that say no animals can bark after 10 p.m. I know that sounds crazy, but people write those in there.
What?
I mean, anybody.
I
yeah.
haven't seen that one
I've
yet.
seen those.
Mercy, what?
You can only have 3 chickens or
yeah,
no
okay.
livestock, or
Yeah.
no mobile homes, or if you do build, you can only build on,
The south
less
side
than,
or
less than a quarter, half an acre only. If you can't build on less than a half an acre, the house has a minimum square footage of like 3,000 square feet. If you don't know those things and you're going in to build, or you're going to have animals, or you want to bring livestock or things like that, those are really, really imperative for you to see up front and be able to make that decision before you get too far in the contract where you can't back out or you're going to lose money.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I get worried when a buyer comes to me and says, well, I don't know if I want this property anymore. I'm like, wait, what?
You're like, let's
Do you
talk
know how
through
far we
this.
are into this contract? Hold on a second.
Yes.
Well, in the option period, and not that we need to go into contracts. I know it's another show, but I see people waive an option in this market just to try to get an advantage. But then you better find the bylaws. I mean,
Yeah.
that option period's for you to look at everything, right? If you want to do
True.
inspections, whatever. But yeah, if you're waiving your option fee or option period, well, you better get to doing the homework quick. As a buyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you've got to be aggressive in this market, but you better know. And I think it's on the agent too. He's got to be like, look, this
Yes.
does have HOA tied to it, so you want to read the bylaws since we're not doing, while
Yes.
while I'm typing up the contract here,
And I
here's
think
the
for the
bylaws
listing
here.
agent, they can put that
Well,
stuff on the
listing agent-
MLS.
Yes, they should have that
They
already,
can.
right?
Yeah,
Available.
they should. They should
Mhm.
have it. It should be like a part attached to the survey.
Yeah.
And you can always
Honestly.
ask your title company for those bylaws, those restrictions before you list the property.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can,
sure.
you can put those in your little transaction desk, I think is what it's called on MLS.
Yeah.
So you have those there with the survey or whatever existing documents you have currently. But yeah, I highly recommend that.
Yes, absolutely. I like to put them on there if I have an HOA.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have known that when I had pecan plantation. I didn't do it with that one because again, that was one of my first deals too. So I had everything else but that, and that would have been very essential to incorporate and add on there.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like you
Yeah.
said,
And
For sure.
HOAs too, you have to, when you get that link as a seller, you have to pay for it as soon as you can because it delays it every day. So every HOA, homeowner association, usually has a management that manages that HOA, right?
Yes.
So you have a board of directors and those people, but then they also hire a big company. Some are principal management groups. Some of them are HomeWise. There's a whole bunch of different ones that actually do, but HomeWise, those are our big ones.
Mhm.
And they're the ones in charge of releasing those documents,
Mhm.
not the HOA itself. So it's not really the HOA that's holding on to them. They're giving it to a bigger company. They charge the fees, and that's where really it comes down to. But
True.
if you want to rush it, say we're closing in 2 weeks, and you haven't paid for your HOA resale cert, and it's a 7 to 14 day turn. It's usually 7 to 14, 7 to 10. That's without paying a rush fee. But most of them, if you want them less than 7 days, you're paying a rush fee. We had one
Oh.
that would not. I mean, she's very busy. She just would ignore the text or the emails or whatever from her agent from us. And literally we were closing with an investor and he's like, hey, like, are we not going to close? I'm like, well, we're trying to get her to pay her, her resale cert, but we're getting there. We're almost there. And she paid it, but we ended up having to pay $700 for her to rush it.
Wow.
That was the only way we're going to close on time.
Man.
But that was literally the rush fee and the HOA resale cert. The resale cert was only a couple $100, I believe. So it was like a $500 resale cert to get it in one business day.
Uh-huh.
So this is how HOA companies definitely make their money.
Well, and think
Absolutely.
about condos now. In this area, that's something I think we need to get used to because I think you're going to see a lot more condominiums being
Yes.
built.
Yep.
Because of the affordability.
Mhm.
But if you go to Dallas, and even some of them in Fort Worth, the big condo projects, well, yeah, they're going to use HomeWise and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and those dues are several hundred per month.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whereas at your normal home, you're probably looking at less than $1,000 HOA dues for
Mhm.
your average home in Burleson that happens to be in one. Well, you talk about a condo, yeah, they are lower priced. Your insurance is lower, but you do have those dues. And
They're a lot more.
That's got to be considered. That's a monthly
Mhm.
deal because they're normally $400 or $500.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of add that into your payment. It's not part of your payment.
No.
But
It's one of those upfront costs.
Yeah.
And your HOA dues
No,
can
and
move.
monthly. I'm talking about the monthly.
Oh yeah, and the monthly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone that doesn't pay their HOA dues, they can move to first position lien and it can be foreclosed on. So it's really important.
have
Those
power.
HOAs, they have a lot of
They have
power.
some
And when
power.
you close, we have that, why did my mind just go blank? What's the rider?
The
Oh,
underwriter.
the PUD writer?
The PUD rider. Yeah. Anyway,
The PUD
there-
rider, okay.
there's a rider, plan
Mhm.
development unit rider. I don't
Okay.
know why my mind went blank. Yes, plan development unit
Mud,
rider.
mud.
Yeah, I know. My mind just went. "Oop." Anyway, those are filed right along with the deed of trust anytime there's an HOA. And that's why it's filed a deed of trust. Like that deed of trust is securing that loan.
Yes.
And that position, the HOA has their own security in that. And so if they don't pay, just like your taxes and your HOA dues, if you don't pay those, they can move to first lien and foreclose. So it's really important. Yeah. Not to be
Yes.
negative, but
no,
as
no,
part
that's
of
true
it.
though. Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
That's
a lot
part
of people
it.
don't realize that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
And I think I think communication, like a lot of this, what we're talking about is just communication.
Absolutely.
It's making sure you've got the right communication. You're communicating what you need to be communicating when you're communicating it.
Mhm.
And so, like, I think for that client, that the agent even and you couldn't get a hold of, I am very upfront with my clients.
Mhm.
When we go into this, you have got to make sure you are maintaining contact with all of us. There are a lot of us that are in this transaction and we need things right away if you want to close on time.
Yeah.
I'm very upfront with my clients about that. And I think that more agents should possibly think about doing that as well. So if you're an agent out there, I'm just saying, if you don't now, you should probably think about like being upfront with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to, because you got to think about it. We're dealing with, it's like dealing with a friend or a family member, regardless of what the situation is or what you're doing with that person. If you're not communicating with them and they're not communicating back with you, there's things being missed and that causes issues.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it definitely more than anything in a transaction. If I can't get a hold of my client, that was me. I feel not portraying to them how important it is to maintain contact with me.
Yes.
So
So important.
Well,
Yeah.
in expectation, I look as it's getting close to closing. When you're getting close to closing, well, you've got the initial closing disclosure that has to be signed 3 business days before the date of closing. And that's where, as a lender, I'll be like, look, you need to sign this. This isn't final as far as your cash to close, but it's going to start the clock on the mandatory waiting period. And we will have a final number after our closing department balances with the title company. So
Mhm.
just stay cool. I know you want to know exactly to the penny what you got to bring. This is an estimate, but we'll know. And that kind of calms them down where they're not calling title going, how much do I bring?
oh, that's very
Because
important.
they realize
yes.
now, okay, this thing, it takes 2 people or 2 different
Mhm.
entities to balance, come to an agreement, then I'll get my number.
Yeah.
So that again is laying the expectation, communicating, which kind of calms them down.
Mhm.
But it also makes them happy because they're like, whoa, this probably means we're closing. If I'm signing this and we're closing in 3 days or something. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so those are just a couple of the things that we do, while we're waiting on while we're waiting on title work. So once we get that title work back, then we can start curing things. In the meantime, also, it's really important for us to get all the information from the seller and the buyer. And it's very important to know who your lender is. That sounds silly, but people will turn in stuff and we're like, who's the lender? And they'll be like, we don't know.
Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah.
Oh,
So is it Rocky? What's
Yeah, is
what's
it
your own
right?
officer's name?
Yeah. But they
Oh.
don't know who they talk to. They don't know any of that information, So it's really good to have all that information. So,
Yes.
we have a buyer sheet, we have a seller sheet, but the buyer sheet's really just mostly about their lender pretty much, and the contact information. The seller's a lot more in detail because we need to know, their payoff. That's really important. We have to
Right.
have their social so we can verify their payoff. So there's a little list for them to sign and fill out. But it's also really important that the seller give us their payoff information because otherwise we can't pay off your loan and be able to close and give that money back to you, the difference. So it's really important to have that. And plus sometimes payoffs, they take a little while longer. Sometimes they take 3 to 5 days. Sometimes they take 7 to 10. You do bigger banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, all those are servicing. The bigger servicers, they're usually same day, like 30 minutes, like it's in our fax. So
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah. So,
it's the
but
other
some
ones.
take a long time. So, like, I had a client call me yesterday, and she said, "Hey, we want to close a property next week with you." And I was like, "Okay." is it cash? She said, yes. I was like, okay, good.
Mhm.
I was like, she's like, do you think you can, get it done? And I was like, well, I can probably have title back in 3 days. I said, is there an HOA? She said, no. Is there a payoff? No. I'm like, okay, I think we can do this. So because the HOA and the payoff are what really takes the most
Yeah, it takes
time.
the longest.
So I say, listen, I'm going to tentatively say yes, we can close it next week. But I always say everything is up to the title work. All those things are good and easy. We don't have to wait on any waiting period on those. But the title work, pending title work, I'll let you know for sure. Because if anything comes back in title work, that may take us a little time to cure it.
Right.
So I turned it in yesterday morning. I got title work back yesterday afternoon. And we're like
There you
ready to
go.
close next week.
All
So
right.
those and the title work was clean, right? So it was good. There was no crazy things on it. But I mean that's kind of the easy part. Those are the easy ones when you don't the payoffs, the home warranties, the HOAs, homeowners associations. Those are what takes the time from us. Those are the time killers. So those are the questions we ask if you want to do a quick turnaround. But that helps knowing those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're like, why can't they all be like this?
I know,
Right.
But-
so
but-
easy.
because then everybody would be in the title business. They're like, well,
Exactly.
this is an easy business.
Mhm.
There's nothing to
There's
it.
nothing to
Boy,
it.
Yeah,
It's so
snap,
much
snap.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you need things from the courthouse, that sometimes can take a little while too,
Yes.
depending on what it is and how long it takes them to get it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had to order like a child support lien, and the child support lien was paid off, but I had to still order the payoff and or release from them because the release was never filed. And honestly, the attorney general was like 24-hour turnaround. We had it.
Wow.
Here's your release. It's been paid. So those are easy ones. But sometimes it may not be that easy. And sometimes if there's tax suits, those take a long time too because we have to go through the attorneys, not just through the city or the county. They then refer it and send it to a tax collector, attorneys and things like that. So now we're having to wait on their payoff and make sure everything is in order for that. So when you're waiting things from the county, sometimes it's efficient, sometimes it's not, just depending on what is needed.
Well, sometimes sellers don't even, they don't even know like there's a judgment filed against them because I could file a judgment on you today for whatever I wanted to.
Yeah.
And they don't even know. They're supposed to be notified from the county.
Mhm.
Well, good luck. Sometimes the county doesn't, do it, or people don't open their mail, whatever. So you can imagine if it's not ordered quickly, finding
Sorry.
that out.
Yeah.
That'd be a nightmare.
Oh, absolutely.
You find out 3 days before closing. Oh, there's a judgment filed by
Mhm.
John Jones over here, and it's like, what? Who?
Yeah.
Oh, from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Where is this guy?
Who is he?
Yeah. Who is this?
Where is he and who is he?
But, so that's what you're talking about. When
Yes.
takes time to cure.
Yes.
So it's get the title order in quickly, and so you can everybody can do their job. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting that title work ahead of time, being proactive there, and then being able to work through all those other things, the surveys, the HOA, the payoffs. If there is a home warranty, we haven't seen many home warranties. It's because it's all about negotiations.
We were
We're
talking
seeing
about
some more.
Yes,
We're seeing
yes.
some more come
That's good.
through, which I'm hopeful for because I love all my home warranty people, and I don't like seeing them not having that
Well,
business.
The danger of not, because before the market changed, so to speak, the sellers almost always pay you to see 500 normally towards a home warranty. So it was just kind of a given.
Yes.
So I don't know who, if the buyers are really being educated on that. And maybe me as a lender, even though we don't deal directly, maybe I need to be more proactive. Like, hey, we'll disclose it on our, loan estimate, but I never really go into detail. But I think maybe I need to start and be like, hey, you are going to get one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
go into the value of them,
Yeah.
which we'll have a segment with a home warranty person
Yes.
because
Yeah, you
they
should.
are important.
Yeah,
They are very
absolutely.
important, and we
I-
need to discuss that.
I think it's just really come down to, and you know this as well, but negotiation factors,
Yes.
the shorter option periods, the no home warranties, the higher option money. There's so many things that, some are doing no inspections. I mean, it's crazy the things I see, but I mean, it's all the negotiation powers, what we've been seeing in the multiple offer market. And now that we're seeing that houses are starting to stay on the market a little bit longer, the interest rates are the highest I've seen it since
Oh,
I've been in the business.
and-
I've only been in it a decade, but that's weird. But 10 years is the highest I've ever seen it. I mean, we're going to start seeing some lower appraisals. We're going to start seeing some price drops, and hopefully that will create a much needed price correction.
Yes,
And
I agree.
I mean, and hopefully we'll kind of pull the interest rate down a little bit. I don't know.
the interest rates in the short term, they're going to keep going up. Yesterday was the biggest jump
I saw it.
in decades.
Yeah.
And because the Fed's going to raise them
Yeah.
Yeah.
this week for
Yeah.
sure. They're going to raise them again in July. The question is how much.
How much?
But
Right.
so, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned
That's
for
a
that
whole
one.
other one too.
All right, guys, we're done for today, but we will be back next Tuesday. Please tune in. I can't talk. I think we have Dean
Well, I think probably insurance. We'll probably be
yeah.
talking
Oh,
to
yeah,
insurance.
that's right. We're going to be talking
Probably
insurance.
talking insurance.
Yes.
Thank you, Danya.
Thank
So
you.
come visit with us next Tuesday. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Hey, travelers, do you